right. Welcome to episode 11 of the Barge Boys podcast. I'm here with Logan Kerby. It's just us two this time. With the craziness of life and everything, we really wanted to get this conversation in. It's been way overdue. We're like, 3 or 4 weeks out after.
Yeah, we're about a month removed.
Yeah, from Run to River. But this is an important conversation because for many reasons, but it's Logan's very first 100. And there's a lot of stuff to unpack with that. But first, we want to thank John G for sponsoring this podcast. Logan's been a fan forever. I just recently got on board, but man, it's been awesome. And I've come to find that I've spent so much money now on John G stuff. Like a lot of my Christmas gifts are now John G gifts, which I think everybody in my family's gonna be really happy with.
Yeah, it's truly. I mean, we've been using it for years. We believe in it, and it's just good gear.
It's high quality. It's great running gear, and I've turned a new leaf on what is actually good running gear because I've been wearing the same stuff since college. So I'm a brand new man.
Yeah.
And there's a great sale going on right now. It's the Black Friday sale, up to 30% off, and things are going really quickly. So you best want to get on the ball with buying stuff because a lot of stuff's selling out as always. Since a lot of people do like it. So
For sure.
All right, let's get into the convo. So people can go and watch Logan's race, the Rim to River 100 2025. If you go on YouTube and you go to our channel, you can find a great showcase of Rim to River. It's called The Altered Line.
Altered Line. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan Ransby was the director.
And everybody who got filmed during the day.
Yeah.
It was a group effort.
But awesome stuff. So you can kind of watch a lot of the race with that. But what we're going to get into more is kind of the thought process, all the stuff that you don't get to see within that documentary. And I think, we just want to uncover some of the cool stuff. So going into it, why Rim to River? Why did you want that to be your first 100?
Yeah, it's, I think it kind of goes back to my first 50K, which was Cabin Fever. This is part of the same race series as Rim to River. And I think, I started running in 2023, really again, since college. Started wanting to run with all of you all, and I was like, if you want to do the ultra scene, Cabin Fever is the perfect ultra to start at. It's a fairly fast 50K. It's just a good entry ultra. And kind of along that same thought process, it kind of felt like, hey, everybody starts with Cabin Fever most people in Huntington kind of do the first 50K at Cabin Fever. And then also it just, for whatever reason, the pattern has been the first 100 has typically been Rim to River, at least for you and Dan, Leslie, several people in the Huntington, area. And so it's kind of as simple as that in one way of just, it seemed like the right entry level 100 miler. Not that it's easy, but just that it's familiar. We have such a great support system around it that we're able to basically, I know it was like all the settings around the race, or so I thought, were going to be very predictable. Mm-hmm. We're going to know most of the people there. We know the race director. We know the quality of race that it's going to be. And so with all of those factors generally being set in stone, which of course this year kind of got thrown off a little bit, you can truly just focus on the race itself, on completing the 100 miles, as opposed to going to a race that you're not as familiar with, maybe getting on a plane, flying out west. You've got all the logistics. You don't know the race director. You don't know the quality of the aid stations. Here, all of that was, for the most part, out of the way. And so I could just truly focus on the 100. And it's close enough. I have access to go get on the course ahead of time, mm-hmm. which is a big factor.
Yeah. You had been on those trails quite a bit. I mean, not as much as you probably wanted to be. But
not near as much as I wanted to be. But yeah, we got a good group run in the gorge. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I've raced both Falling Water, Relay, and Cabin Fever, so I know a good bit of the area.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a huge part of it, too. Being close. I mean, it's about 2 hours away. There's something familiar about it where you don't have to really stress about the travel. That's one thing, especially nowadays, with the government shutdown at the time. People hop in planes. There's a lot of things that are out of your control. And with Rim to River, at least you can control getting there for the most part. Getting Airbnb, you know the whole setup.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Is just eliminating that factor for the first like effort of this magnitude.
Yeah, for sure. And the community.
Yeah, I mean it's you know what you're going to get with that too. If you've been around any of the Render River Race series, you're going to get like top notch community. Um, and so we're definitely that's definitely a huge part of it, and a reason why we want to continue
Yeah.
to support those races.
And like, not only the race community, but the West Virginia ultra run community. Like, it's like a family reunion, just like Highland Sky, just like Hurricane. These are races where we see family members, basically what I would call family members, and they're out there, and you get to see them several times because it's like a double out back where you go out to Thurman and come back, and you see them again on the way back to what would have been the finish line.
Yeah,
you got to see them quite a lot more.
Yeah,
but,
that's a good point too. Is like, I guess in the years leading up to this race, anytime I heard somebody mention Render River, it was like this. It was like, oh, it's always glorified in this like, man, all we know is every year we want to be back there. It so it just goes to show like everybody walks away from that race feeling like they got everything they were there for and more.
And more. Yeah, because it's most people's first 100 in the area, so there's something special about it.
Yeah,
I think just being able to, I don't know, like there's always something cool about your first anything. First girlfriend, first 100 miles, same thing. Like you have that's like this special place in your heart for that. And even like I've done 600s now. I still go back to that very first one, even though it wasn't my fastest time. Just the feelings you have when you're really not sure if it's all going to work out, but you're taking risks, and ultimately it does work out. Like there's something really cool about that feeling.
There's a feeling of like home turf with it too. Even though Fayetteville's a couple hours away, it's not like our immediate. Like we walk outside and that's the community we live in every day. But there's something of like, at least with the Render River Race Series, it feels like Huntington. We've been there from the beginning. You ran the first Render River. Alex Miner won the first Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
We've been to most of those races. I think Huntington holds the course record at every race up to this point, and that's just because there's been so many people from Huntington that's ran, and so it just kind of there's that aspect of it. Kind of feels like you're going to defend home turf.
Yeah.
That I like as well.
Yeah, for sure. And like we haven't been able to go past 2 years now since Dan won. So it's about time that a West Virginia came back and won because it's been a couple of years. Yeah,
Javelina the last couple of years has fallen on the same weekend, so it's been a little hiatus.
Yeah. So let's go through some of the planning because obviously you're a planner.
Yeah.
You have everything dialed to how many carbohydrates you're going to take in per hour, how much sodium you're going to take. So walk us through that process, especially knowing that you had never done 100 before.
Yeah, so one thing I'd been talking with Eli Gillespie, my crew chief, my brother-in-law, a lot ahead of the weeks leading up to RIM was, fitness-wise and how that may play out. That's one thing that I've controlled to the best of my ability, but you may show up and not be the fastest guy on any given day of the race. But what I can control is the planning going into it, and I think that that's really what changed the race for me. Was mostly planning nutrition, but also planning. There were some logistical, vest. What sections, for example, what sections I'm going to wear a vest, what sections I'm going to do a belt. Throughout the day, how many gels I've got to have on me through each section based on estimated splits. And so, I'm an engineer by trade, I guess. So this kind of is where I'm able to geek out a little bit. I had Excel out the whole time. I've got my crew spreadsheet here.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just
laminated too.
Yeah, Eli did the laminating. But yeah, so that's kind of where I felt like if I had an advantage, chasing even historical times on the course, that this was going to be it.
I think so. And I laugh because I know what me and Dan were like back when we set the course records, and it was nowhere near any of this. We were just winging it and grabbing.
That is the thing about that. Like, it's not like I could just plan for an ultra had I not seeing the things I have over the last couple of years crewing, like you and Dan at big races and seeing like
The carnage of Ashworth Sapling.
well, not only the carnage, but also like what does it take to make an aid station under a minute? And I would have had no clue had I not been out to Javelina, had I not been at Cocodona and Western States and all, like these big races that you and Dan have done. And so I certainly wouldn't even know how to plan had I not had you all come before me in that way. So that, and then, I get to see like how Isaac had planned everything, for Dan at Cocodona and just like how methodical it was and kind of how he broke it up. And so all of that, having in the quiver per se, in my back pocket was kind of able to lead to, I felt confident in what I needed to do to plan out Rim. And so, yeah. So I basically, broke everything down from A to A. So every section of the course, I knew the distance. Splits are kind of tricky for this course because they don't have timing mats at every single egg.
And things have changed a little bit.
And things have
Nothing
changed.
like dramatic, but it does change some. So it's almost like hard to like go based off of like
Yeah.
GPX files and everything too. Like
Yeah, so we were basically shooting from the hip on estimated splits, even course record splits. Dan had ran, what was it, 15:34.
Yeah.
You had ran 15:37 the year, or
yeah, something
like that the year before. And so we're basically able, you had sent me some of your splits, and then we were looking at Dan's Strava of the race, and you're kind of just trying to estimate based on the miles he's at of what the splits into each aid are. So I had a rough ballpark idea of course record splits. And then the big thing was just planning out whether I was going to be in a vest or a belt, and then what my nutrition would look like for each section.
Okay, so what was the most concerning section? Was it the longest one without aid, or was that? I mean, it was earlier on, but it's pretty intimidating when you told me about it.
Yeah. So the thing that really kicked me in the teeth, or at least I knew would be the crux of the race, was the section from Concho, where you see a crew at mile 7 to Bike Farm, which is at mile 38. So there's a 50K straight up front where you don't see crew. Now you see
aid stations.
You have aid stations. So there's an aid station at Thurmond, miles 17 and a half-ish. And then there's one at Kennard at mile 27. And so there are aid stations, but obviously I don't really love to use aid stations. Typically aid stations, for what I've found and like what works well for me, is I just need water from them, but everything else I'm either going to carry and plan. So that was different than previous years. Previous years, Kennard at mile 27 was accessible by crew, but there's been ongoing construction at Kennard that eliminated the ability to have crew there on the way out this year. And so, that was the crux. I knew that in that section, I was going to have to change some stuff up logistically. And so I guess just going back, I started in the raid belt, the 2-liter raid belt. And that was perfectly fine for the first 7 miles to carry nutrition and hydration. But then I knew for the next 38 that I didn't want to have to rely on aids. I wanted to be able to use my own nutrition. And so my crew had my 5-liter Solomon vest ready at Kennard, at Concho to pick up. And so I threw it on, reloaded the belt, and I did a 50K, basically self-supporting.
So you had the vest and the belt.
I had the vest and the belt.
So what did you put in the belt?
I kept a flask in my belt at all times.
Okay, like a just dry, soft flask?
I had a full one.
Okay.
And then I had, just in the front, I just had my phone and trash when I had my vest. And then in the vest, I just did gels and 2 soft flasks. So I had 3, in that section, I had 3 soft flasks. And I was able to carry all of my nutrition. And so that was beneficial for me, for sure. I know that my sweat, I had my sweat concentration tested last year, which, it fluctuates, it sounds like a little bit, but mine was 1146.
So you're getting those
I'm
precision 1500s.
Yeah, so I'm in that moderate to high zone of, sweat concentration per liter. And then on a 65-degree day, I lose, as far as like sweat rate, I lose about almost exactly a liter per hour.
Okay.
So like 65-degree day, moderate, it would change. So it was a little bit colder at rim. I knew that maybe that would make me slightly less, sweat loss per hour. But basically my goals were a liter per hour, and I needed to replenish about 1,000 milligrams of sodium in that liter.
And what were you taking for your sodium? Was it salt tabs? Was it?
Yeah, so I did this at Hurricane 6 or 8 weeks before the race at Hurricane 100K, and kind of got the formula down. And so I basically I rotate between Tailwind, Precision 1500, so Tailwind with electrolytes and carb drink, to just Precision 1500, just electrolytes and salt pills. So when I'm doing Tailwind, it's 600 milligrams per liter of sodium, and so it's not enough. So if I'm doing just Tailwind, I know I have to take salt pills in with it.
Yeah.
When I switch to Precision, I know that I'm getting enough sodium, but I'm not getting near as many carbs because you're not drinking the carbs. So then I've got to account for extra gels when I'm doing Precision. And then somehow it feels like I kind of have started to be able to get a gauge during the race of where my sodium is at, based on I'm pulling my rings on and off my fingers, based on, are my fingers swelling?
Yeah.
Am I starting to cramp? And so I'm starting to get a little bit of a better feel for just how it plays out during the day. But it definitely, I was trying to stick as close as I could, especially with the electrolytes, to that at least 1,000 milligrams per liter per hour, because I have had several of my first ultras completely derailed by cramps.
I witnessed one of them.
Yeah,
that was pretty intense there with 5 miles ago at Highland Sky.
I get a lot of we get a lot of love for my calves, but
The chonkers, yeah.
as much of a blessing as they are, they can equally be a curse if I start cramping. It's like when things turn south with cramps in a race for me, it's usually calf cramps, and it usually feels like I'm getting shocked by a cattle prod in the back of my calf. And so I will go to great extents to avoid cramping during the race. And so this was kind of my effort, was planning towards it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sure. There you go.
So yeah, so
what were your gels and other carbohydrate and you just, I guess, were you mainly gels? Were you mixing, mashing with some other solid food?
I think I did. The only solid food through the whole race was maybe 3 or 4 bites of mashed potatoes.
Okay.
Everything else was gels. And I rotated between Precision 30s, Morton 100s, calf and non-calf, and cis beta gels.
So you're rolling through all the little gel packets then?
I was.
Nothing too big. You're just getting the
only big one was the cis beta.
Yeah. 40.
So cis beta is 40 grams of carbs per each, and then the other two are either 25 or 30. And so, depending on if I was getting Tailwind,
that's true. Yeah.
Of 50 grams of carbs per hour in the Tailwind, I would need less. So I would take it for say 1 hour. If I drank the full flask of Tailwind, I would just have it a Morton 100, and that would get me to 75.
Yeah.
So my goals for carbs were, I wanted to stay between 65 and 85. I'm not a high carb guy. And basically this entire race was in zone 2 heart rate. Well, it was zone 2 to threshold line. It was it's just, it's there were areas definitely where I was
honestly climbs are probably
for sure. Yeah, I don't want to be I was in, but my heart rate was in that 150 to 160 range, probably most of the race. And so I just think for me, at least at this point in running, the high carb risk that you take with high carb, I don't train with taking in carbs enough, and the risk you run during a race of trying to push it too much. I just don't think it's worth it when I can operate fairly well off of that 65 to 85. And so I think I stay generally in that range.
Yeah.
Some hours you win big, some hours you may be in that 55, 65 range, but so yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty similar. Like, I've never really needed to go above 100. I mean, I've had that as a goal for a lot of my races lately, but all the rim to rivers I've run, Canal Corridor, I mean, it might have been closer to like 40 to 50 per hour.
Yeah.
If we were being honest, like early on, yeah, I was hitting some higher stuff, but like as the level, get past mile 50, it's like I would rather do damage control and not like throw up or, have to go to the restroom and have cramps. I can sustain that pace without it. But I mean, the benefit, I guess, of going high carb is you recover faster and you're able to maybe go a bit past zone two.
Yeah.
Too. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'd rather not derail it and be in the hole a bit rather than vice versa.
Yeah.
Especially since your day was more like, I hate to say it, more like a time trial because you were so low from the gun. No one really wanted to smoke after half mile, I think.
Yeah.
And you went through at 7.5 miles, Concho aid station, like 44 minutes or something.
I think it was low 50s when I went through mile 7.
I remember when I ran, I was in like close to an hour.
Yeah, that's something that
the sun was like already up, whereas in that video the sun is definitely dark.
It's something I think I saw Donald Marsh at mile 19 or 20. He was out spectating, and it was like I told him, he was like, "How things going on?" Like, they're good, but I'm borderline reckless right now. Just because, I'm untested at 100 miles, and I don't know what 60 miles from now, how much I was going to be paying for it. But you thread the needle sometimes, and sometimes it works out.
Yeah, that's true.
But
fly too close to the sun, you get burned, or you can land in the stars.
Yeah, you never know. But yeah, so I guess I'll stop geeking out on this, but my plan had in total for the 100 miles about 15,000 milligrams of sodium and 1,100 grams of carbs.
Nice.
And so I know I came in less than that. You always do. Mm-hmm. But I know I couldn't have been too far on electrolytes. I was pushing them pretty hard. And then I was probably closer to that 65 grams an hour carbs.
That's good. I mean, heck, that's awesome. Especially for first one.
Yeah.
And no GI issues, right?
No GI issues.
Major bonds. I mean, you probably had some.
I had some lows that I'm sure we'll talk about. But no GI distress. I had some cramping and that coming into bike form. Mm-hmm. So the last 31 through 38 was a big low, and I was starting to cramp, and I was starting to derail a little bit. It's the end of that solo section.
You also had the hardest climb of the day.
Yeah.
Not maybe the longest, but it's definitely the most steep.
Yes.
The Kmore Miners Trail.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I did it twice, but
yeah. Yeah. And so I definitely started probably overcorrecting a little bit. That's where I went strictly to precision 1500 until I got back on track. And then a little bit later in the race, I started to feel myself get maybe a little overloaded on electrolytes, and then I cut back to tailwind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the only thing that I kind of had an inkling of an idea, but I'd only planned for 400 to 500 milligrams of caffeine. Mm-hmm. I was trying to time the race because I'm a fairly heavy coffee drinker. So I'm a 5:30 a.m., a 7 a.m., a 9 a.m., 11 a.m., a 2 or 3 p.m. cup of coffee. So I was trying to just time my caffeine to be what I would do normally throughout the day. But it ended up kind of taking the Dan Green Coca Donut approach, where once you start the caffeine, you can't stop.
Can't stop, yeah.
So I was getting caffeine gels from people at aid stations and stuff.
Yeah.
More than I had planned for. And so.
On that topic, did you have the cold brew at Fate Station?
I didn't.
Yeah.
That's
is rocket fuel.
My Fate Station, aid station, on the way out and back was probably under 30 seconds both times. Yeah. It was just one flask of water both times, and we were out of there. Nice. So it was pretty quick.
Nice. So before we move on, let's talk about your gear. your gear choice. So you already talked about the rain belt and then the solvent vest. What else do you wear? Do you have sunglasses? Do you have shoes? Like what shoes did you wear?
Yeah. So kit wise, John G went half tights,
Of course.
which was phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Like the liner, I love the line ones. I love the unlined ones too, but the liner is just it was nice.
Nice.
So had some storage there. I went the run all day tee, and John G hat. I wore sunglasses that have the photochromatic lenses, so
Oh yeah.
I can put them on when it's still a little bit dark and roll with it. I picked those up at mile 7, and then I don't think I dropped them off until mile like 64.
Okay.
So I had those at least on my person all day. Wish I would have worn them a little bit more after my eyesight debacle. But shoes or socks, I did like standard features socks, maybe CEP, and then I did on Cloud Ultra Pro shoes,
Nice.
which I had a little bit of a roller coaster emotion with during the race. I was cussing them pretty hard in that 38-mile section. I was having a lot of foot issues, and then towards the end of the race, I almost switched out of them. I had a pair of Solomon's that were more of like a comfort shoe that I was like, if things go south, I'm going to switch. I almost switched out at mile 38, and then I almost switched again at Hawks Nest. And then for whatever reason, I got anxious at the aid, and I was like, I don't want to take the time. And I left without switching, and I'm glad I didn't, because those later miles, it was nice having that plate for a little bit of bounce.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's a difference between us and Dan. He does not care to take time to switch out shoes.
Dan does like to switch some shoes.
He's a big shoe switcher.
I
get anxious. Like I'm like that's going to take way too long. Although it may take like 30 seconds at most.
Yeah, I err on the side of probably screwing myself in the way of not taking enough time at an aid.
Yeah.
I'm just like immediately feeling anxious.
Yeah.
I did all right at Bike Farm. I took a couple minutes at Bike Farm. It was probably my longest aid. But yeah, so that was, I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything gear-wise. I think that was it. I rotated between 2 and 3 flasks. So when I just had my belt, you can fit 2 flasks in the raid.
Mm-hmm.
I find myself usually carrying a flask.
Yeah.
And then I had one in the raid belt at all times. And then in the vest section, I had 3 bottles.
Okay.
And so I had two bottles in my vest, one in my belt. And that worked out pretty well.
You know me, I'm a handheld guy. Like I will always be holding something, because if it's here, I'm not drinking it. It's just going to sit there. I want to maybe take a couple swigs of it, but it does not leave.
There's something to have it. Yeah, there's something to having it there that you like have to.
You always just.
Yeah. I agree.
Awesome. All right, so you had some highs and you had some lows. Let's talk about the lows before we get to the highs. Yes, you mentioned a few already. Walk me through it. Was it mostly just the length of the race and things you just never felt before? Was it just being deficient on maybe sodium or carbs? A mixture of both? Was it things that happened?
Yes, I had. I was thinking on the way over here. I think I had 4 lows, which you and Dan. It was just funny because it is. You guys had both repeatedly said like you're gonna hit lows where you're like, oh crap, the whole race is falling apart, and then you're gonna come out of it, and you're gonna feel great, and then you're gonna know. Like, you guys had warned me of that, and I was like, we'll see. If I stay on top of electrolytes and carbs, we'll see how it goes. But inevitably, that absolutely happened, like to a T. My first low was mile 31 to 38. I was really struggling because I had absolutely obliterated the first 31 miles for me.
For anybody.
I had realized, I knew for like mile probably 25 through 31, I knew I was on track to PR my 50K. So I was able to use my 100K and 50K PR to kind of sanity check myself. I was like, I don't need to be PRing my 50K. So I pulled off the gas a little bit, probably at mile 22, 23, something like that. No, after Canard is when I pulled off the gas.
After you got to the top of the hill.
After I got to the top of the hill, I pulled off the gas. I was like, I don't need to, and I ended up going through 50K, like maybe a minute or 2 minutes up, slower than my PR. And so I was like, all right, well, I gotta keep myself honest. I don't want to be running like, a 3:59, 50K at a 100-mile race. There's no business doing that. And so I kind of pulled back, but that section, after you get to the top of Canard, you get on some trail.
It's flowy, man.
It's flowy, but I struggled it during our group run in that section.
It's long. It's very long.
I struggled pretty hard, and then you get smacked in the face with the Kmart climb. I hit a pretty big low in that section of just like, it's like daggone, it's number one, it's the end of this long 50K section. I'm not seeing crew. I've been by myself at this point for
4.5 hours.
4.5, 5 hours. And I was having some nerve issues in my feet, in my foot. I had rolled my ankle several times, and I was also starting to cramp a little bit. Not necessarily like carbohydrate bonk, but I was starting to cramp. And, I was in the beginning of that race, I was doing a lot of like 6:30s, low 7s. And those last 7 miles of that section, I was starting to you could tell by my splits.
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't good. And I kind of felt like things were starting to unravel when as I was coming into the bike farm.
Was it kind of a mental thing too? Like, did I go out too fast? Is this like me starting this downward trend?
Absolutely part of that. Of I know I'm fit enough to go put a good effort in, but I didn't know if I'm 16 or 17 hour 100 fit, or if I'm truly can
14-hour
volley for this course record fit.
Yeah.
And so you're just you're chancing it. You're threading that needle and hoping it works out.
It's scary for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, and then once you saw your crew at Bike Farm, was it like a switch where you felt better again? I mean, yeah, you're getting your stuff that you needed, but was it like seeing them?
It was significantly better.
Yeah.
I think I spent 2.5 minutes there at that aid station. My aid stations typically are, I drop the vest, which is also just a big.
Yeah, it's huge.
If I cannot ever run in a vest again, I would be happy. I like them they're needed at some points, but you take that off, it's
so free.
It's so free. It's what I imagine women feel like when they take their bra off.
They take their bra off.
It's this is man, this is amazing.
It's essentially the same thing.
Yes.
Our soft flask, very similar.
Yeah. So I took that off. I'd hit a salt pill plus
Coca-Cola.
Coke.
Yeah.
Dan was making sure I was bringing the Coke down. Took a Tylenol. I know that's a controversial topic, but it's one of the things that when you have jacked up feet like I do, it's just
you gotta do it.
You gotta do it. So Tylenol was a big part of why I came out of that too. And then so I had salt pill, Precision at the aid station, Precision 1500 Coke, restocked on stuff, and then left out of there with just the belt.
Yeah.
It took me maybe a mile or two, and then I started hammering that section again down to the aid station. It's a fun section.
Yeah.
Butch was out camping.
Classic.
And so I saw him out there. That was a huge boost seeing Butch. And so
that's why he wasn't out of Javelina. Butch.
Yes. So that was honestly that was huge. Just having him to keep my mind off things for just a minute or two.
Yeah.
And then you get the nice descent into Fayette Station.
That's the best.
I don't care how messed up you are. You can fly down the descent.
Yeah.
And so that was nice. Hit Fayette Station, and then even the climb out was great. Mm-hmm. I felt great all the way until close to Hawk's Nest, and that's where my second low came into. So you come, I don't know exactly what mile it is, probably 3 miles from Hawk's Nest, maybe 4 miles from Hawk's Nest. I started to bonk a little bit.
Coming down or going up, the gravel?
It's the gravel section coming up it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just long, gradual.
2 miles up. Yep.
2 miles up,
and then climb like 1,000 feet.
And then you hit the Hawk's Nest, like actual ascent up at the aid station. And I was bonking for 3 to 4 miles there, and then I had to climb up Hawk's Nest.
Yeah.
And I was in definitely like a carbohydrate bonk at that point, mentally kind of low, because I was riding a high there for the past basically 10 miles. I was on a high, and then I hit that low, and I was like, oh, shoot. But thankfully, Hawk's Nest picked up Dan. And so anytime you pick up somebody, immediately came out, Dan was great to have as a pacer. He paced me for 27 miles.
That's a good bit.
Yeah, and so I was hurting the first 4 or 5 miles with him. Like
that ascent's pretty gnarly.
I hadn't even thought about that, and it was not great.
Yeah,
I could tell like those first miles with him. He was being like super like positive and great, but I could tell it's like I think he was maybe thinking, oh crap, he's
forcing it.
He's screwed a little bit. Because we were running like 9:30s at that point, and I was struggling a little bit.
So it was reverse psychology, because when Logan faced me last year heavily, he was doing the same thing where he was like faking it until we make it. We got to be positive because this guy's not.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I'm like, no, we're not.
Yeah. And so Dan, he as nicely as he could frame it, I was like, hey, like, kind of, we're gonna have to pay it up a little bit. And I knew it, but what really got me out of like fully snapping out of that low was after I picked up Dan, we passed second place. What did feel like too many miles out of Hawk's Nest Aid. Maybe
it's probably a good bit though.
It was probably more than
it felt like. More than you think it is.
It was more than it felt like at the time, but I felt like maybe I'd ran like 2 or 3 miles with Dan, and that's where we passed him. So I may have had, I don't know, 6 in my head. I had 5 or 6 miles on him, and it like immediately pissed me off.
There you go.
Because not to like, just because I knew how much I had him on second place at mile 19.
Yeah. By
mile 19, I had 3 miles on second place, and so I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" Like, I've
been working.
I was running 6-minute pace from Thurmond, 6:30 to 7-minute pace from Thurmond to Kennard. And I was like, I thought I would have gained like, I just, in my mind, for whatever reason, I had convinced myself in that moment, like, they're basically holding steady with the gap I put them in early. And that like made me mad because I was like, I guess I'm not gaining anything. And so from that point, we hammered, that connector trail to the road, and then in and out of Fayette Station. Yeah. So just a little, if nothing else, it was a mind game I could play with myself to like motivate myself during it.
No, the 2 years I ran, I always struggled leaving Fayette Station going up. Not the road part, but that first like trail climb you go. It's pretty steep. I mean, just part
going back.
Yeah, going back.
Yes.
I think it's also just where it's at. mile.
It's a little bit of a sick joke of a part of the course. I struggled a little bit there too, but generally felt decent. Had a great mile 64 aid back at Bike Farm, and then we had a 16-mile section from there to Kennard.
Yeah,
that I loved it. I think some people kind of hate that section, but it felt flowy. What is it?
Are you talking about the Arrowhead section?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely hate that section.
Yeah, so I loved it, but about 3 to 4 miles from Kennard, I started I started losing my eyesight, and I started getting to where I kept falling, and I was bonking.
Yeah.
And when I came into Kennard, I was in bad shape.
Yeah.
That was probably the lowest low of the race.
Quick break to thank Janji, the official sponsor of the Bargain Boys podcast. We're super excited to have them on board and super thankful for their belief in us. I'm personally a huge fan of the Janji Half Tight. They come full of pockets, so I can keep my pockets full with everything I'm going to need on trail. I've used them for all kinds of races, from the JFK 50 to the Cocodona 250, and they've worked flawlessly in both of those situations. Use code BARGAIN and save yourself 10%. Thanks again to Janji. Back to the show.
So that kind of leads to the like basically the ultimate thing that happens during your race, the thing that almost derails not only your race but the entire race. So yeah, just tell us what happened, and I really want to know how your thought process was. And I'm sure you maybe even heard, like Dan maybe talked about it, like en route to whenever you got to Kennard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just kind of dive in. What happened? What was your thoughts?
Yeah, so Rim to River is 50 miles. It's an out and back, so 50 miles out, 50 miles back. So at mile 80, so that's 30 miles on the way back, is the Kennard aid station. You hit it on the way out and back, obviously, and there is some ongoing road construction about a mile from the aid station, half mile maybe from the aid station on a big hill, and the entire hillside basically slipped out around that construction zone. The road slipped out during the race. So what are the chances? I have no idea. But by some act of God, the road fails. There's a pretty big slip. Nobody got injured, thankfully. So what that meant for me was this happened within the hour, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe within 45 minutes of when I was set to arrive there. And so Bryant Baker, the race director, had just got on site. They'd been hashing out like what to do. Can we proceed with the race? Does it have to be canceled? And we're like trying to hash out details as I was coming into Kennard. And so I found out about it first, probably mile 77, maybe 78. So like within 2 to 3 miles of coming into that point. Ryan called Dan. It was we had actually just finished a like pretty big we'd ripped that section, the Arrowhead section. That there's a big descent.
Craig's branch downhill.
Yeah, and he called Dan. I heard Dan talking in the background, and I kind of thought it was a little bit odd that he was talking to him, but I was starting to enter that low zone that I was talking about coming into Kennard. And so I was like, well, whatever. They're playing with something. And I don't remember exactly what was going through my mind, but Dan was like, hey, he was very calm, as all good pacers would be. It was, he was very calm. He was like, hey, it's not, hopefully no big deal. Like, I just want to, the road failed at Kennard, and they're kind of trying to figure out what's going to happen. And at that point, I immediately was like, well, are they going to cancel the race?
Yeah.
And at first, I was like, well, even if they cancel it, I'm running. Like, I'm finishing this course.
Yeah.
It's like you don't go this long and not finish it.
You could totally go on the side of the little ditch area.
And so what I couldn't compute in my brain, so what made this all complicated was my crew was already
at the aid station.
At the aid station at the base of the hill, below the road slip. The road fails, like right after they go through there. The road is still passable, but it's like all the material underneath the pavement is basically out. And so there was a whole bunch of drama that I really wasn't privy to during the time. But the biggest thing was I was bonking. And I think more than I was worried about what Bryant and them were going to do with the race or a reroute, I was like, I need more gels, and I need electrolytes, and we're not going to have an aid station because Dan and I had schemed like we were going to take some time at Kennard, and I was going to like do a good reset there. And it's like, well, great. Now I don't even have an aid station. I may not even have an aid station I can get to, or my crew has all my stuff. Yeah. And like, obviously, if I can't have my gels, I'm screwed. Like, if I have to take a Huma gel, I'm gonna be, my whole race is derailed. And so that I think was my immediate concern. Yeah. Obviously, I was concerned about them canceling the race and curious.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Though. I didn't even think about that because that's a pretty long section again from Arrowhead Bike Farm all the way to Kennard.
Yeah, 16 miles.
16 miles. So yeah, you definitely need stuff at that point.
Yeah. So I was like, I think I kind of had tunnel vision on like fixing my immediate problem of I'm bonking and I need my stuff, and if I can't see them, what am I going to do? But that, obviously we talked about a little bit back in my mind of like, what's going on. And we shared a little bit of conversation of like, well, Brian will figure it out. In my mind, I had never thought the reroute would be rerunning the course. I'm thinking, oh, well, there's got to be some trail up and around to get back to where. And I guess I just hadn't thought through it all. So I guess we're coming out to the road, basically where the slip is at.
Cross that bridge, and it's right there.
So I'm bonking. I come in. I guess backing up a little bit. One thing that was probably the biggest bummer of the whole race was, they had changed it to where canard couldn't be crewed on the way up. And canard is like historically the heart of Rim to River. It's like everybody who has a Rim to River story. It is somehow based on that canard aid station or Fayette station. Those two are like the heart of the race. And so it's a bummer that we couldn't this year because of the construction, we couldn't see crew on the way out, which led to that one low. And then it was like, well, crap. I was supposed to be able to see like crew and have this come into this big like canard party. It's going to be so hyped at mile 80, 81-ish. And then it kind of dawned on me like, oh, well, now I don't get to even see.
Nobody.
Yeah, so half my crew couldn't even get even close to even the top of the ridge. So they closed the road way ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I come in, it's just my dad's truck.
Which is very thankful that your crew got there so early. Like,
Yeah.
I was there.
And I don't know how they made their way back up. I mean, they had to have driven it,
Yeah.
and they got by.
You were able to drive. It just probably wasn't the safest thing.
Yes,
Because
it wasn't
everything
great.
below it was, out. Which also kind of makes me think it's kind of good that they didn't have the first canard be a crewable aid station, because that could have slipped way earlier with people on it.
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess that's very thankful. Hopefully they get that fixed before next year. But
Yeah, for sure. So I finished up that section with Dan, coming in to the road right at where the slip was at. So when I came in, my dad's truck was on the side of the road, tailgate down. They had like a shell of a DIY aid station set up with just my stuff. And Brian was still over trying to figure out what was going on when I came in. And so I'm asking Ryan. Ryan's like, Ryan's a great businessman. He's trying to like,
he's wheeled and dealing.
he was like trying to maybe, figure out, number one, get all the details for me. Number two, maybe if there's any way he could preserve the race remaining in effect, I think he would have been willing to speak up. But anyway, so it basically the thing that we were talking about was with Eli and Dan and Ryan was like, well, we don't know what's going to happen. They don't have a reroute, and we don't know if they're going to cancel the race. But I was bonking, and they're like, you just take a minute and get right. So I did the best I could. I rolled out my legs pretty quickly, restocked for gels, took some Coke in. And then after maybe a minute or two of like getting prepared at the aid station to head back out, Brian called me over and was like, hey, come here. And he's like, all right, here's the deal. You're just going to turn around and run back. And I said, okay. And we just headed back. Then as we were running back, there were some like small details like, shoot, am I supposed to add on the long point addition? I was adding mileage in my head. I was pretty sure it was going to be short. What I was most bummed about was having to go back up the Kmart climb. And also that section had now been two of my biggest lows in the race. The way out and the way back. I had bonked in that section twice, and then I had to just turn around and do that section again. And so I was just dreading that section of trail of like,
Also, it's probably getting dark at this point, right?
It is getting dark.
Yeah.
It is getting dark. So Ryan and all the fluster, Ryan had almost forgot his headlamp. I left out at aid station without a bottle. I had one bottle, but I didn't have two. A total dumpster fire of like planing and everything like in my spreadsheet flies out the window. And so it was kind of just like this is all we have to do. And so we did it, and I was kind of numb to it, I guess, at the time. There was I listened to like Brandon's podcast on the race director's point of view, and he's absolutely right. Everybody was like everyone in this community was like definitely like, hey, we're very thankful that this race had gone on. And like, I'm thankful that they were able to pivot and the race was able to continue. There were definitely like periods through the race, I will not lie, where I'm like, we could have just by foot ran it. Yeah. Like, we could have just, it wasn't that slip in my mind. It's like, oh, it couldn't have been too bad where we couldn't have ran through there by foot and just moved the aid station to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
But for a lot of different factors that I wasn't thinking about at the time, I'm sure there was a liability aspect from the National Park Service. I'm sure they were worried about like rescuing people if somebody were to get hurt.
Yeah.
But there were like,
I would have been the same way.
There were periods of anger that I was feeling of like, daggone it, I have to redo this section. I was adding the vert up in my head, and I was like, I'm pretty starting to have more vert on the day by backtracking. I was like, it's kind of a sick joke. I've had to, not a sick joke. Like it was the best they could do, but for me personally, my two lows being in that section of trail and having to turn around to do it again, like daggone. But the race didn't get canceled. I was thankful for that, and I would have been really bummed if they would have canceled it, because I was ahead of course record splits by probably
a good bit,
by probably 20 or 30 minutes at that point.
Yeah,
and it was just like I knew the rest of the course. I had ran all of it, and so I knew what to expect. I knew I was going to have one more heinous climb, but otherwise it was going to be like fairly runnable section.
Yeah.
And so, it was a bummer. But
and to be honest, it's a bummer too, because I feel like some of the most iconic parts of the course are on that section, crossing Arbuckle Creek in the dark. Yeah. I think that is something that everybody needs to do, because especially at mile 90 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's different, but there's something about it. Especially when you're with your pacer and they're helping you across, there's like a bond that you give and you held their hand.
Yes, for sure.
It's just cool. And then you have to climb up Arbuckle all the way up to Concho. And Concho at night is so much cooler than the first time, because you don't even care about the aid station.
I was so looking forward to Concho.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
Yeah, the hyper, or the Erskine, Erskine aid station. It was another good one. There were going to be 3 very high aid stations. And then in that last section, you could see the finish line.
Yeah.
You have all that hype running around the Ace Regional.
People are cheering when they see your little light go across. Yeah.
I would basically be the light up on the hill. You could see the finish. I was so looking forward to it.
And the fire at the end, man.
The fire at the end. You're at the lost paddle.
Yeah.
There was a lot that was lost with that road split. Don't get me wrong. Sure. It became special in its own way. But I think pretty immediately once we turned around, we started running, kind of got the logistical details out of the way, and I started to come out of my bonk. I immediately, my mind went to like, daggone it, there's going to be because I was ahead of course record, it's like, there's always going to be an asterisk beside of this race. And that's just like a total bummer when you like position yourself through 80 miles to be a course record. And then, and like, I think the way it shook out, maybe there's an asterisk, but maybe people recognize that from at least what I just with talking to people, that like, hey, you didn't like really cheat it out any. Like, obviously we still got the 100 in, I got over 11,000 feet of vert. It was different course that last 20, but we got all the same, and all that chaos was thrown in the middle to it.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess the last little part of that is now you're finishing at Fayette Station.
Yeah.
Which originally was not a crewable aid station, but now it's the finish line. That is a pretty cool place to finish any race, but especially at night underneath the bridge.
Yeah.
That is cool. It's not the same, but it's definitely one of the cooler things with that whole horrible situation.
Yeah.
You were at 94 miles, so you had to do 6 more miles. So talk a little bit about that before we finish.
Yeah, so I picked up my brother at mile, I guess, 89 now at Bike Farm. Yeah. Came back we backtracked, so back at Bike Farm for a third time. Picked my brother up, and then it's essentially a 5-mile roller descent down into Fayette Station. And by this point, I knew it was going to be short. I was hoping it wasn't going to be that short, but I knew like just adding up the miles, it was going to be short. So I had kind of knew in the back of my mind there was going to be a decision point on whether I add on or what I could do to try to fix and get the full 100. But I also wasn't like 100% locked in on that. So I ended up like that last 1 or 2 miles descending into Fayette Station, we were running like 6:20 pace, 6:30 pace. And so go down there. The finish line is a timing mat. They had just got the timing mat there. Bryant, the race director, was still out and about trying to fix all the fallout
Chaos,
from the road slip. And so it was a little bit underwhelming. You walk in, it's all dark. There was a timing mat, thankfully, but there wasn't like there was a couple people there, just my family, which was special in its own way. So I got to the end, looked at my watch. I was like 93.6 miles, I think is what it said. And it's just like, I had 45 or 50 minutes that I was up on the course record at that point. An hour and 15, I think, to finish out and beat the actual course record. That math may not be my thing, but
I think what you meant was like you were at 13 for something, and then you knew you had like over an hour and like 30.
I was at 13:45. I had an hour and some minutes to
break 15.
To break 15, 34. And so just like I knew what I had to do. What I don't think that what was really like just was like, daggone, this is a total kick to the teeth, was when you're in Fayette Station, you're at the bottom of the gorge.
Yeah.
There is a couple mile descent down into it, and you're climbing right back out of it. So any way to add on was going to be up from there. And so I knew I had to climb out. And so I climbed out the side like you're going towards Hawk's Nest. I did 3.2 miles out and then back down into Fayette Station. And I'm glad I did it. I'll never regret that decision.
Yeah.
Even if, it just had to be done. There's, I guess, a lot of people that are like, why would you ever add on? Or, they like throws you lemons, you take it. I guess it was just, for me, it was a mix of a couple things. It was because the court, like, I was ahead of course record splits, and that's always going to have an asterisk on it of like, what does a 13:45 93 miler do for you? Yeah. In my mind, it was like, this isn't what I came here for. It was like, I have to get at least 100. I don't know. There were several factors in my mind that was like, to me, I'm not personally going to be satisfied if I leave here at 93 miles, and that's not to take away anything from the people that that did that on. I don't blame anyone. But for me personally, it was like, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to like have a little bit of a sour taste on my performance if I don't go out and do it. So I did.
What did your wife, Cami, say?
She said, I know you, and I know you have to do it.
Yeah.
And, Cami's been around since Cami and I started dating the first time in like
elementary school.
Yeah. So, yeah, Cami knows me, and she knows that it was going to wear on me for a long time if I didn't do it. And so I'm glad I did, for sure. It was special too. I didn't have the way it worked out. Dan paced me, Ryan paced me, and my brother paced me, but I didn't have a paceable section that really fit kind of the planning for Eli. Mm-hmm. And so it was something that bothered me, like not having him as a pacer, but I knew I really needed him as a crew chief. Yeah. But that addition ended up being where Eli, he ran his last 6 months with me. So it ended up being really special in that way. He got to pace. I got to have him pace there, and so it worked out well.
That's awesome. Better. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, that actually leads me into my next question. So, talk a little bit how special each person in your crew was. So, like Eli, crew chief, logistical mastermind,
Yeah.
Ryan, he's doing a lot of the filming for the day, but also he does pace you. Dan, talk about each person. Maybe not everybody, but some of the key people,
Yeah.
including Lottie, because she is.
Yeah. So for sure, I had like the dream team crew. Obviously, it would have been nice if you could have been there, but you were on your own mission out west. So I had my wife Cammy, our daughter Lottie, 9-month-old, and
because the other kids were
the other kids were with grandparents. I don't think they could have hung with the cadence of a 100-miler.
Yep.
Mostly just because the finish time is way past their bedtime.
Oh yeah.
So they were with grandparents. My mom and dad were there. My twin sister Mary was there. Her husband Eli, who was my crew chief. I had Dan. Jack was in and out. He was crewing for Alex Odell, but he was in and out there helping. My brother Levi and his wife Jenna and their kids, and Ryan. I don't think I'm missing anyone. And then
You said your parents, right?
yeah, and then obviously we know most of the runners are in the river, so like there's crews are mixing and matching.
Oh yeah.
Andrew Ely was there for part of the day. We had all of the Starnes' crew. So Luke Sadecki, just key people that that help make the day come together. And so, but the key, I guess on paper the players for my crew were mainly Eli, Dan, Ryan, and Levi, and Cammy. So my three pacers, and then Eli was crew chief. And so Eli, we'd been back and forth a good bit ahead of time on planning. His mind works the same way like that. He's a very good planner. I knew Eli has kind of inadvertently been a crew chief my whole ultra running career thus far.
Yeah.
He's always been at the races, and I knew that if something went wrong logistically, Eli would figure it out. There was zero concern. And I knew that that's the role I wanted. If he was willing to do it, I wanted him to do, because it completely took the burden of all the logistics off of it.
Yeah.
And so it ended up being perfect. He absolutely crushed it. And then Dan paced me for 27 miles, which, there's nothing more natural than running with the boys, And so the experience of both him and Ryan as ultra runners, and then, the familiarity of I run with these guys all the time. That was essential. And then I had my brother for the last, it's supposed to be the last 6 miles from Concho to the finish, but ended up being the last whatever 5, plus then he ran some of the add-on with me, so it ended up being a little bit more, which was, I think, it was incredible having my brother there. And so they drove in from North Carolina and never really been around that kind of environment before, so it was cool to have him there. He kind of brought the all the I don't know, motive, I don't know the best way to put it. I just, he's your brother. You just grown up with him. We shared the same life experiences growing up, and so there was a certain aspect of motivation that came along with having him there that I wouldn't have had otherwise, I guess.
I would say you bring the emotional strength. However, I feel like there's a lot of people who you could say that with in your career.
For sure, 100%.
Obviously, your parents.
Yeah.
Heck, Eli. You guys have been through so much.
For sure. And throughout the day, I had special moments with all of them. Obviously, getting to see Lottie at all the aid stations.
Oh, the kiss was the best part of the whole move.
So it was just
face lights up.
It was just great having her there. Cammy, you can always count on Cammy for anything. So just having their sheer presence there was cool, that they get to be part of it. I had that. I talked about already, that kind of special moment the last 6 miles with Eli, capping off the whole day. The whole 27 miles with Dan was fun. Yeah. It's always fun. You never know what the heck Dan Green's going to say. And so it just keeps your mind occupied. Yeah. We had one specific moment in that Arrowhead section between Arrowhead and
Craig's Branch.
whatever the biggest ascent is down.
Yeah.
That I was like, all right, let's just screw around and open it up a little bit. And we ended up running like a 6:15 mile or something.
That's insane. That's been my slowest section every time.
And it was just fun, just stupid stuff.
It's like running the Hurricane Trails. Like,
Yeah.
it's mountain biking, very twisty, turny. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something about it.
I don't know. So that was like it was just cool having him there. Obviously, he's got a crazy race schedule and life, and so just taking them, all these people taking the time out to like, it's just a big sacrifice, and I appreciate it. And then Ryan is like exactly who you need when chaos ensues,
Yeah.
and you need someone to like figure things out logistically, like and have a calming presence.
Yeah.
Ryan's like, this is kind of like, oh yeah, who's just like perfectly equipped to pace me in that section where he's like calling Brian. Remember when he had Brian's phone number, thankfully, it's, hey, do we add on the Long Point
How
Trail?
does he have Brian's phone number?
And then Ryan is like wheeling and dealing like with Brian. It's like, hey, if he adds on, is this going to count as as the course record to like, what can we get? So here's, it's just having everybody there was just special. And then, having my brother there, it's kind of funny. I talked about with Eli and Cammy ahead of time of like, hey, I really don't, my brother's not a runner. He's a big time like CrossFitter weight lifter. He's getting into running, and it's big. He ran his first ultra this year, Mountain Metro 50, and like he's absolutely equipped to do it, but it isn't like necessarily like his wheelhouse.
He's a bigger dude, strong.
He's stronger, shorter, stockier, and so I think he had expressed that he was a little bit nervous about the last 7 miles.
Yeah.
And I knew I was either going to be like, it could go one of two ways. You could either be super blown up by then and be running an 11-minute pace, or you could still feel decent and have some legs. And so I basically had told Eli and Cammy and Ryan, I think even the day before, like, hey, I don't care. Like if he's like, if it's bothering him and he doesn't want to do it, Ryan can finish this out with me. If he wants to like, try it, and if I end up dropping him, I'm not going to be like, no, I don't care at all. It's no big deal. Or if, like, I don't know if I'll be able to even drop them. So kind of, I had basically told them, I don't want the stress of making that call during the race. You guys figure it out. And so obviously I was rolling pretty decent at that point. Still had some legs, and I came in and my brother was just fired up about the whole situation. I think he was riled up about the Kennard situation. He was like fired up about little brother, I think, having a good day on the trails. And so you could not have pried that pacing section out of his hands. And I thank the Lord that like we didn't, because it ended up being a great section, memories that will last a lifetime. And so, and he did not get dropped. So he hung on. I think he PR'd his 10K and maybe some miles on that descent into Fayette Station. But it was great having him there, and the whole day was just special.
That's awesome. Cheers to that, man.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then meanwhile, you were running out west.
I was running out west.
So that was also an aspect of it, of like, I was able to keep my mind off things because during the AIDS, I was able to get an update from you. And then when Dan had picked me up and Ryan picked me up, I was like, hey, we know what's going on with Bowen. So I had a pretty good idea. You were in it all day.
I made a documentary.
Yes,
Tiny.
you did. You made it. And so that was a cool thing too.
So didn't you tell me that you listened to like the Single Track podcast, like preview show with Catalina?
I absolutely listened during after Concho. I turned on I picked up headphones and I turned on the Single Track prediction.
That's funny.
Which was like an hour and 15 of my race that it occupied.
Also, special to that, they mentioned Dan 4 times. A guy who wasn't running Catalina was mentioned 4 times in that preview show.
The Dan Green effect.
The Dan Green effect, for sure.
Yeah, he's also kind of got that Javelina legend status.
For sure. I mean, getting 4th and 3rd, that definitely good too.
Yeah, I knew you were going to roll at Javelina, and it was just amusing listening to the podcast, because I knew like your fitness and mental state was in such a different place from the previous year when I was out there with you.
Yeah.
So
It's just, I think, knowing how it is, and like we talked about earlier, like the craziness of it all. You kind of like the first year with any big race,
yeah,
it's almost like too much, and it's easy to not do the right things that you need to do. I mean, you remember I was eating like rice the day before because there's nothing else there, but I had to wait for the stupid interview, and I was out there in the sun all day.
Yeah.
Dan had already left 2 hours before.
yeah.
So just those things.
It was cool too because you 3 hours behind me, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew, like, during my race, I was like, oh, Caleb just
We
kicked
were about
off.
to finish.
And I was like thinking, I was like, oh man, he's feeling those feelings of like waiting in the crowd right now, or he just kicked off. And then throughout the race, I was distracting myself by like, I'm like, well, I was trying to add up in my head. I knew you were going faster than me, obviously, heavily. And I'm like, well, wonder what mile he is at on the race. And I had a pretty good idea. I'm like, oh, he probably is catching me about this time in mileage later in the race. So it was fun.
Yeah, I was I asked for an update about you like once at an aid station, and then like a couple times with like
Yeah.
Abby and Chris, and unfortunately, like I guess where we didn't have much service, then
And there's no live tracking for
yeah.
it.
So they were like they had heard like two things, but it was early on, and then basically all they said was Logan's crushing it.
Yeah.
So I had to wait until after the race. I go to the porta potty, and I get service all of a sudden, and Dan's calling me, and that's when I found out. Because originally he just said you ran 14 hours and 15 minutes. I'm like, what? And then he's like, yeah, there's some crazy things that happened. There's a road slip and everything. I'm like, this is too much. Like, what's
It was a lot to do. It was a lot to explain.
way too much like things coming at me, especially post race. You're just like, did I hear that right? I'm also in a porta potty right now. And then my dad's like sitting outside. He's like, you okay in there?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but no, it was just definitely a fun one to listen to. Like, and once they finally explained it all and everything.
Yeah, it was cool. Like we knew we were. It's kind of like running with you, even though we were across the freaking United States from each other.
3 hours away.
It was cool.
Or 3 hours.
Yeah. So it was just a neat day. It was one of those things that I think would be hard to replicate. Obviously, you couldn't replicate the chaos of the Canard, but even just like those people on that certain day, place and time, and like having the health and fitness to do it. It was just, it all came together, and I like better than I could have thought.
Yeah,
for sure.
So kind of the transition out. Let's talk a little bit about how you've come so far in the past year. And I mean, a year ago, maybe in like a month or two, you probably were thinking there's no way you could even do a 100-mile race. Because I remember that's when you first got diagnosed with the Northern Rheumatoid. You got your surgery in January, I think.
Late December last year. Yeah.
And then you obviously tried really hard to come back really quickly. And that kind of back and forth, it's super frustrating.
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about how you went from being injured to now course record at Rim to River, which, to be honest, is a no slouch East Coast race at this point. It's definitely one of the premier races on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of a year. I mean, it has been for you too.
We were in the same boat.
Yeah, we were in the same dire like circumstances, depression at the beginning of the year with as far as running goes. Running has been it's just been kind of crazy, even how quickly it's progressed. Obviously, I think Kobe Dino was kind of like a microcosm for like even my running career. It's like you show up and then like it just obviously changed Dan's life overnight, but also
Change your
it's just everything just started like between that and your Javelina last year in Western States, and it's like it's kind of been like I've had so much crew experience and experience. Obviously, we train together all year round. We're running with you guys. Like I've just been lucky enough to be in a passenger seat of watching like multiple professional athletes, go about training and racing in a way that I was able to pick up on. And so that's really what's changed for me is just training, like a 14-hour 100-miler.
Which you had been. Like I would say from maybe this like Cocodona on,
Yeah.
you were training like a madman.
I
Every workout, you're pushing Dan. You're pushing limits. Like even in that mile, you look so effortless going 450 with
Yeah.
I mean,
it's been like, to me, and I talked about this with Dan a little bit before Rim, was to me like it's such a special time to be in Huntington. Like we harp on that all the time. Like, but it's crazy. You can go out your front door any given day and run with a Derek Steele, a Caleb
national
Bowen.
champion.
Yeah, and it's like an All American, a Caleb Bowen, Dan Green. There's like A through Z examples of like you can run with anyone here. It's just a cool time, and I told Dan like before the race, it's like that is what I live for. I've expressed that to you before too. Like I love to be fit enough. That's been kind of my goal since I started. It's like I want to be fit enough to be part of it, which means you've got to be fit enough to train to do a workout with you all.
Yeah.
Which just sometimes goes well, sometimes doesn't. But
Most time it goes well.
that was kind of the initial starting goal of running again. It's like I want to be fit enough to be able to train with these guys.
And I think that's why, like, when we were injured, it feels like we're not relevant anymore. It feels like we've lost something of ourselves. I mean, yeah, we don't.
It's so hard to be injured,
but like,
and I'm feeling that a little bit now with like post race recovery has been brutal for me with a sprained ankle and some nerve issues again. But yeah, so that's what I live for, is just like doing it, and then when that's taken away, it's just like, not that my identity is not running, but it's like the grind that I crave every day. And when you take away the ability for me to get up and run 10 miles before I go to work, it just like derails my entire day.
Yeah.
And so, I had surgery last December. I was out for like 3 weeks from the surgery, and then I went back too soon, did a few 50, 60, 70 mile weeks, and then really paid for going back too soon. And then it was like 3 or 4 months of just a roller coaster of like, I would get to feeling better, bump up my mileage, get wrecked again, be back down, and just finally, it didn't really level out until after having Scott this year. And then I was able to get some like pretty consistent training throughout the summer. I had a few blips of like flare-ups with my foot and Achilles, but for the most part was able to get some like pretty consistent training. And for me, pretty much is like my idea of like fitness, of where I feel good, is if I can float in that 70 to 100 mile range, averaging 100 foot per mile of elevation gain.
I think that like spring section was also tougher because you had that frustration going back and forth. Meanwhile, you have Dan, you have Jack, you have Ryan, all doing 100-mile weeks training for
It was so tough sitting on the sideline. That's a great point. We were both on the sidelines when they were having like
some of the coolest,
the winter block of their lives. Dan training for Cocodona was like everybody was motivated. Like everybody was running at like 4:30 in the morning, running like 15 miles before work.
No problem, too.
No problem. It was a crazy time in the ultra scene, and we were like struggling to stay healthy enough to join them.
Yeah.
And it was really a disheartening point. And so it's crazy to think like
that we made it.
That was this year.
We made it.
And we made it out, because that was a big question of like us at the Y on the treadmill of like,
ugh.
Are we ever going to be back to? Obviously, I had never achieved like these like 100-mile races yet, but it was like, am I ever going to get to that? And then you were like, am I ever going to get back to that?
I honestly didn't think so, because I mean, with like the labral tear, it doesn't get any better until you get surgery. So like, you can strengthen the muscles and hope for the best, but like that tear is not getting any better because nothing will fix it until you get surgery. And then with your neuroma, if it grew back like you're hoping it wasn't going to, and thankfully it didn't.
Yeah.
There's something else.
They're both really nuanced injuries that just like can really derail a career.
Yeah.
And so it was just very low point earlier this year, and throughout points in this year. But thankfully, we made it back.
You made it out. Highland Sky was it?
Highland Sky, and then really what shaped Render River for me was Hurricane 100K.
Yeah.
Doing that race, finally got ripped off the Band-Aid. Did a big boy race, did 100K. I got nutrition down. I kind of had an idea what that was going to feel like. And I knew coming out of Hurricane, it's like, okay, if I feel right, it is possible for me to have legs late into a race.
Yeah, Hurricane was a perfect setup for both Hadley and the river, because like you said earlier in the podcast, I can't remember when, it is like basically foot for foot just the same as Rim River.
Yes,
you can dial.
It's almost exactly the average gain per mile, like 100. It's like 110 feet per mile average. Is basically what it is.
And you were able to break 9 hours in your very first 100K. Doing that, and it wasn't like the hottest day of the year or anything, but like it was still humid, wasn't perfect conditions or anything. It was competitive. You took some risk in there, and it all worked out. So, I think Hurricane was a huge confidence boost, step forward in the right direction.
I would not have had near the same race at Rim.
I'm not even sure if you'd have done Rim if you didn't do Hurricane.
For sure,
because you were definitely wondering if you should drop out or not drop out, but you were considering not doing it.
Yeah, for 100%. And so I'm very thankful I did it, and that it came together. But it's a perfect funnel to Render River, that race is.
So it's definitely cool to see that you PR in both 100K. Well, I mean PR. I think breaking 9 hours is a huge accomplishment at any point in your career. But to do it in your very first 100K is huge. And then your very first 100, breaking 15 hours. Kind of scary, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
you set yourself up for a very good career.
I'm definitely thankful for that race. There's definitely looking back at both of those races, I'm like, man, I could have shaved some time off here for sure. You always look back and I could have done that a little bit better. And definitely excited to if I run Hurricane, 2026. Definitely excited to see what I could shave off of that, because I ran a little faster up through the 100K in Render River than I did.
Of course you did.
At Hurricane. So yeah, it's just knowing what that feeling is like and kind of how your body may respond to it. And now that I have that a little bit better, obviously each race is going to be different.
The experience you get from that first 100 will carry over so much in the rest of it, because you know that feeling now.
Yeah.
You know the highs and lows. You already expect them. I mean, they never get easier, but your ability to tolerate them is so much better.
Yeah.
So,
and I just even observing after Render River, just hanging out at some of the aid stations. So many people were like, "Oh man, I can't believe you did that." And it's obviously very thankful and grateful for that comment. But I'm to me, in my mind, it was easier. I was forcing fuel down myself the whole time. It's not fun to eat that much.
no.
But to me, that is easier than just not fueling it, taking it super seriously to a T and then having to deal with the fallout of that for 50 or 60 miles. So if anything, I was like, man, if you could do this too, if you would just fuel.
I think you're trying that as a certain person.
No. But there was just so much carnage that I was watching fall out in that race that I was like, man, so many people, they have the fitness, they're just unwilling to do the things on the day of, right? That I wish that they would do.
Well, for fueling, you need to train with it.
Yeah.
Train your stomach to be able to handle it. Don't just willy-nilly it and then all of a sudden try to take in every gel. You gotta train, take a gel or two a day.
Yeah, I just look at it as preventative maintenance. It's if I take this gel now, even though it sucks to eat it.
Yeah. Stomach it down.
I'm gonna benefit from it later.
Yeah.
It's just an investment in your race. And I don't know. But it was ultimately a good day. And one person I haven't mentioned is Alex Odell, who was running it.
Yeah.
It was so cool seeing him out on the race.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I got corneal edema. I didn't know what was going on at the time.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah. So I couldn't see from mile 75 on. It was all blurred, and it got progressively more blurry in my left eye. And my eyesight came back throughout after I had slept an hour or two
the
next day. But unfortunately, after it got dark and headlights were like, I couldn't recognize anyone that I was passing on the trail. So like it was kind of hard to tell beyond that point.
It's hard anyway.
It's hard
Remember
anyway.
your eyes not.
But like I know I had to have passed Matt Young at some point. Never saw him in the race.
You would have heard him though.
I had to have passed him though.
Yeah. Maybe he's on a different out and back or something.
Maybe. And so that was definitely a bummer. It was a little bit of a mind warp not being able to see.
Yeah.
And then every time the headlight would hit, it would be like way worse. But you know, you got to come out of these things with some battle scars.
It's true.
So you don't want to leave unscathed.
Yeah, you're not going to. Don't worry.
No, I definitely did not. I had a pretty rough recovery. So
Yeah. All right. So the last thing we're going to talk about is 2026.
yeah, plenty of times. We're good. 45 minutes.
Okay. So 2026 is a big year, you know, because 2025 didn't start great, but we definitely finished strong. So I know we've talked about this offline, and it's just so tough being an elite runner with lives, with families, with work and stuff, and trying to find races that you both want to do, but also give you the competition you need to push forward, make that next step into like to reach our fullest potential. So, talk a little bit about your thought process on it, and then like what races are you looking to line up?
Yeah, it's such a hard thing to figure out because like obviously in that you want to crew races too, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be available and you want to be able to have the time and weekends to go crew races, and then also trying to like figure out a schedule for the next year. The number one thing that bothers me about it is like, how come you have to have your whole race schedule figured out now? Like
It's November.
November the year before it. If you don't know what you're doing, you're losing out the next year. Like you're not going to get in. You're going to be waitlisted or miss a lottery entry. And so that's just like my number one pet peeve with it is I'm fairly indecisive. I decided to run Hurricane the Wednesday before Hurricane. And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, then you add the aspect of like, you have jobs that you have to plan around, like our day-to-day jobs, and then families and birthdays and all this that you have to plan around. It's just, it's hard to, when you throw all those factors at it, like be able to find a race that is going to push you forward and that you're going to like find satisfaction in doing. And so, yeah, if you figure it out, let me know because I'm still like trying to figure out 2026.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out too. I even reached out to Finn Mullins and just be like, hey, what are your thoughts? And he didn't respond, so
Yeah.
cool. Thanks, man. But yeah, it's so tough because like you want to get challenged, you want to get pushed to be better, but most of those races aren't around here. I mean, yeah, we have a good collection of good people, but there's so many cool races out there. You want to try them all. And then, yeah, we want to try to make it to Western States. So then you got the golden ticket races. Then you got UTMB, CCC. Yeah, that'd be cool. But then you have to go run Grindstone or Kodiak, two opposite ends of the country.
Yeah.
And then there's races that you want to do. Like, I mean, yeah, I think JFK is kind of like that perfect fit for me. Like, it's competitive, but it's also close. Guess what? It's a day of nationals, cross country. I hope I have an athlete there, but like,
You never know.
you never know. But I mean, I've only had one, so it's hard to like really bank on it. But then in the back of your mind, like, oh, I really hope this one athlete does. So it's still hard to even like you probably like for me, I have to like just push forward and just try to put them down and then hope for the best. And I'm very bad about asking permission. Sorry, coach. But yeah, I mean, for you, you have your whole family. You got 3 kids. You got your wife, who probably may want to run a race at some point soon.
Yeah.
Your brother, I know, has wanted to run some races. So it's and also. Yeah, we're trying to make ourselves available to help Ryan because he is somebody who's recruited all of us.
Yeah, all of these guys have crewed us
Yeah.
at this point, and like and it's fun to crew.
It is
Like,
very.
it's so much fun to crew. Yeah, because you get all the fun of the race without the stress. Well, without as much stress. Yeah, but yeah, it's a tough thing. Like I still haven't figured out 2026, and I have like a rough outline, but it's nothing set in stone. And then there's also like, I'm not going to be healthy.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me is like my health and durability has been such a question in the last couple of years. It's been like, well, do I want to pay $600, $700, $800 for a race out west for just the entry these days.
Yeah.
Plus book a flight a year in advance, and then not be healthy when it comes to it. Which that's kind of a chance you always run. But takeaway is I'm gonna have to be more decisive later on.
All right. Well, let's just go with races that you kind of want to do, but maybe I won't do.
So it really depends. Like there's a chance I run Red next year.
Defend the title. Free entry.
Mostly because I would get entry, and it's going to be hard to get back in because of the lottery. So you never know if you're going to get back into that race or when it would be. So maybe taking up entry. We've talked about like Gorge Waterfalls being that would Gorge Waterfalls being a maybe. Hurricane 100K. And then I've kind of thought about like a 50 mile, like maybe a fast 50 mile, like a Tunnel Hill 50.
Okay.
Something like that. But yeah, it's all very rough. Obviously, we're going Cabin Fever in February, 50K local one. And then
it's the Huntington versus Blacksburg, part 2.
So. Yes, they got us the first time.
Well, okay. I mean, just Highlands, but we got back at Hurricane stuff. I mean, we got even scales a little bit. Yeah. We got Derek on our side now, so
Derek's going to be himself.
Derek Steele, Dan Green, Logan, Ryan. I mean, we got Jack Pennington, who probably would sign up. I mean, it's going to be a good crew from Huntington.
Yeah, that's true.
We get Holly in out there, Sid. I mean, we got some crushers out there, even on the women's side.
Yeah. So
it's like a black term.
Yeah, I guess for me, it feels like I should do one thing out of at least one race out of my comfort zone of like West Virginia, this local kind of race series. I should at least go try something like a Gorge Waterfalls.
I think you'd like.
I just can't figure out what makes the most sense timing wise throughout the year.
Yeah. Well, we got some time.
A little bit of time.
Rimmed River, I think, opens up like 5 days, but
yeah.
But you have a free entry and like Brian's understanding if you need to back out. We've all had to do it at some point, so
that's true.
Yeah,
but that's true. Maybe he'll get it next year. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. That'd be fun.
Yeah. You have any idea?
I don't know. I mean, I would love to do Gorge Waterfalls. I'd have to ask Coach if I could get out in Tennessee, which that's a tough thing to do. We have a meet at University of Tennessee. I'm kind of looking at something in the early, like spring, or not early spring, early summer. So maybe like an Old Dominion, or I mean, we might do Highland Sky again. I know that's lame because I do it every year, but I really want the course record.
I think always got to run Highlands.
If we get a crew together and it's a dry year, we could probably make a good push for it.
Neither of us were fully healthy last year.
You definitely worked.
I was getting my health back, but I didn't have my legs back yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like redemption at Highlands.
Yeah.
I'll
try not to fall in front of you and make you
get beat by you again. I'm fine with that if you break the course record.
Hopefully both pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's another good race. I mean, Burning River is one that's always intrigued me, but it's just in a bad time of year.
Because then you can't Ohio in July.
Oh, it's rough.
It's rough.
It's humid.
It's humid. It's flat.
Yeah. It's
that course record is gettable.
Yeah, that's our quick record.
It's gettable.
So
I think Jeremy Pope has one of the records.
It's 50 mile. Yeah.
50 mile. Those records are gettable for sure, but it's a big sacrifice.
Both guys screwed me kind of forward.
Yeah.
But then you have the question is like, do I do Grindstone or do I do Hurricane 100K? Grindstone, you can get a UTMB or CCC automatic entry, and that's kind of cool. Because for a race like that, I think I would probably ask for permission to go to CCC or UTMB. Like that would be easy for me. Like, this is like the biggest race of my career other than Western States. Can I go? But Hurricane 100K is the home course.
There's money.
That's
a big aspect of it too.
And
where else are you going to find
the stress of not having to worry about anything? I mean, I love Grindstone as well. It's not too far, but like, man, Hurricane's right there. We could train on the course all summer long.
And the money.
That's
a big part of it.
Yeah, and Matt Young does a great job. So I mean, that's going to be a tough decision for sure. And then that kind of dictates what I do next. Do you have to Red River? So that's something I really want to do at
The
some
return.
point. I want to do JFK and I want to do Tunnel Hill, and all three of those you can only pick one. So it's a tough decision. I mean, you don't have to pick one, but if you want to do anything at JFK, the other two are not like they want to hurt that.
For sure.
So-
You pretty much have to pick one.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's probably to be determined, but yeah, it's a shame that it's got to this point where we have to decide this far in advance.
Yeah, we'll probably get both in the Western States, and that'll derail everything we just talked about.
That'd be
Offer
great.
two
It
tickets.
would be, yeah, you 2 tickets, I have 1. Yeah, my chances are slim to none, but you never know.
Hey, that would be legendary. That'd be Isaac Wade legendary.
I don't think that brace would fit me very well.
It doesn't fit me either, but you know,
The heat is what would get me with my heavy like sweat rate, but yeah,
and there's calves.
or sweat concentration. Yeah. So we'll see though. We would train for it.
Oh, we trained for it. We would be at Cal State Forest and KT doing all those no repeats and now no repeats.
Yes.
So
So
you have to.
absolutely.
That's on. Well, man, it's been a pleasure. I think it's a great place to end it. Main thing I want to do is give you the Judge cigar. Because I think anytime you break a course record that I used to hold at one point, you deserve the Judge.
I
Because
love
you are
it, man.
the Judge man.
You're the best cigar giver. Thank you.
So we'll have to smoke these at some point.
At some point, yes.
We'll have to get Dan's as well, because Dan's had a heck of a season. I mean, heck, all the boys.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. Thanks for chatting up Render River with me.
Awesome.
But by the way, Render River lottery opens next week.
Next week. So if you want to run, you got to get in the lottery. So
You're gonna get in the lottery, so it's a great race. Shameless plug for it.
yeah. Hopefully it's out back this year, not out back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right.
Thanks. Thank you, Caleb. That was good.